Diane, the Creative Inkster. It is Tuesday, January 12th, on a very chilly day, and we are definitely in the deep freeze, and it's supposed to go on like this for a little while yet. So I am glad to be here in my craft room where it's warm and bright with the lights, and I can play with some fun, colorful items that will help me think of spring and maybe keep me out of that deep freeze thinking for a while. If you're watching live, I hope that you will like this idea of how to make a fun fold card using a punch. And if you're here, please let me know by dropping in a comment. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and comment as well. I love knowing your thoughts on what we're doing here. All right, so this stamp is from Daffodil Daydreams, which is a new bundle. And I've just used the daffodil flower here in the greeting. But the star of the show is this punch here. Now we have two punches that are suitable for this technique that are current in the catalog. Let me pull this in and show you. There's the fancy tag topper, which I don't have, and then there's the delightful tag topper, which is the one I'm going to show you how to do. Both will work equally well. Hi Debbie, thanks for popping in. It's just that the one will have a circular hole to slide it through here, and the other will have a little bit of a different spot to put your ribbon. Both will work equally well. This really doesn't show what these punches will do though. They're both $31 in our annual catalog. The whole design idea behind these is that there are 3 tracks in here, and you can take a 1-inch piece of cardstock and slide it in and then punch it, but your tag can be any length, right? You're not limited by a tag that's going to fit and cover it off, the whole thing in sort of a square or rectangular fashion. Then this one can slide in at 1.5 inch, and I think you can actually, if you're really have a steady hand, you can slide it in between. But there's the 1.5 inch, and you'll see that the topper is just a little bit different because of course it's taking more of the design. And then the third one that is designed for this is for a 2-inch piece of paper. And you can slide that in, and then you've got your 2-inch side. So, but again, you can make the tags as long as you want, as long as you need. So great for making bookmarks and special tags that you want to put onto various projects and gift bags and that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you though how we can use this in a bit of a different way. Hi Brenda, hi Myrna, thanks for popping in, nice to see you. This is our project tonight. So what we're going to need is a piece of cardstock, just your standard size. You're also going to need a paper trimmer and scorer. So I'm going to have that really close at hand here. We don't need to do the stamping and decorating for a little bit yet. So this piece is 8.5 by 5.5, so it's your half piece of cardstock. Alrighty, we're not going to score it. Normally I do score mine in half and then I work away with it. We're not going to do that first. Our first thing that we're going to do is we want to get this beautiful image. So I'm going to pull the ribbon off so you can see how the topper piece fits on this. So we're going to, you can set it in the center, at the top, the bottom, anywhere you want to put your closing mechanism here. To keep it simple for the first time, I just want to show you how you can put it at the bottom, or if you flip it over, it'll be at the top. So what you can do, as I showed you, you can slide a piece in here that's 1.5, or 2 inches. This piece is wider. We're going to slide it in, and I'm actually going to turn it this way away from me, and I'm going to grab the 2 edges and push it through. And I'll flip it over and show you that it has been able to go down into the track. Now I want to make sure it lines up exactly where I want it, so I'm going to push the edge up, and I'm going to tap it down so that it lines up evenly along here by tapping it down, and I'm going to make sure that the right edge is pushed in all the way. And I'm going to punch, This works equally well with the fancy tag topper punch. It leaves this extra piece. Don't worry, we're going to cut that off. But I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the opposite side. So because I set it up, again, I'm going to put it in front of me here, grab both sides, push forward to slide the paper in. So I'm going to make sure that it's up at the top, and then I'm going to push this over and tap it down so that it will be at the bottom once again. Now it could be off a hair, that could happen. That's okay. We'll worry about that later. So that's our punching. We can now set that aside. Get rid of our scrap here. The next thing is pulling in the paper trimmer. This is where you're going to need to have something. Now you could cut it by hand. If you've got a steady hand, you could draw a line down and cut it. I'm going to use my paper trimmer. What I'm going to do is where this indentation is here, I'm going to stick that piece right in the track, right in the cutting track. So as I push this up to the top, I'm lining up that piece indent as far as it goes with the cutting track. With my cutting blade at the bottom, I'm going to push up until I feel it give. I can feel it going through the paper, and then suddenly it's through, and that way I know I'm not going further up. I'm just going to flip it over. I like working from the bottom up and continue to do the same thing. So I've got it in the track, and from the bottom I'm going to push up until once again I get through, and I've got that scrap piece I can tuck away. Don't need that. While we're on this side, we're going to score down this little tab. You only need to score one of the tabs. Hi Vicki, you don't need to score both of the tabs, just one needs to for folding over. So I'm going to use my scoring blade, and if you don't have a scoring blade, or you do and it's gone missing, you can also stick your bone folder in the track here, or the take your pick tool with its scoring end. Do the same thing. Alrighty, so there is one side scored. So we're going to do the other side. We're going to do the same thing. So we've done this side. Now we're going to cut off this side as well. So same thing, slide it in the track so that that piece where the scallop ends, hi Valerie, thank you for joining me, is where you're going to do your cutting. So pull your blade up from the bottom and go up there till it just gives, and then you've got your piece out of there. I'm going to flip it over because I do like pressing up from the bottom. I feel like I have a little bit more control rather than the coming down side. And I'm going to cut up here. Oh, there we go. And I have that little piece out. All right, so that's all. Oh, we got one more piece of scoring to do. So what we're going to do is we need to set this up so we have our scoring. We couldn't score it ahead of time because a little piece of this cuts off the edge. So I'm setting this up, and I need to do this like I'm a visual person, so I want to kind of make sure I set this up right. So with the side that has the scoring, where you did the scoring down on the scalloped edge, you're going to line that straight edge at 4 1/4. Right? That's half of our card usually. That's usually where we score. You want to be using that scoring blade, which is not the dark one, so push that guy out of the way. And you're going to score down there. And now I'm going to have it right. Because, yeah, you know how I did this. I had fun doing this the incorrect way first. And now it's all about just putting it together. So I've moved this back. If you didn't catch the quick hand movements that were going on there. Hi Glenda, thanks for popping in. What I've done is I've moved that scored scallop edge to the right so that my card base is exactly like my sample. I'm going to fold this piece over and score it well. And then my card score line, I'm going to fold it over to the right and I'm going to score it well as well. That's the hard part. All done. And by the way, if you're wondering, this is gray granite. It's not a color I use a lot, but I thought it was perfect for the stamping that I'm going to do. Now we got a couple of layers we need to put in, so we can stick that aside. This is Flirty Flamingo, and it measures, I'm going to read out the measurements correctly, 4 by 5 1/4. And then this piece of white is going to be 3 3/4 by 5, so it layers nicely on there like that. And then it goes to the inside of the card. Now you can stamp the inside if you wish. I'm not going to do that, but that is certainly an option. Let's get the glue going here. We'll get our layers going on the inside. I'm a liquid glue girl. We talked about that last night. I know, I have to see what I'm doing. I'm very visual, and I'm the same as you, Debbie. Like, I really need to see it, and I'm the same kind of learner when it comes to computer stuff and anything anyone's trying to show me or I'm trying to learn. Crocheting is a thing I've known how to do for years, but I realized I didn't know how to read patterns, and so I needed to watch some YouTube videos to get that. All right. So there's our interior. I know, Glenda, right? This is an oldie but a goodie. We used to have a punch like this called the scallop tag topper punch. It just had a different end to it, like a different sort of look. And that one is retired, and that's when I think this first came out. And just in case you were wondering, and you have this punch at home, there are 3 punches in our line like this that you can make actually 6 tags with. It wouldn't work so well with these because 1, there's no hole in the end, and 2, when you slide it in, it's going to cut through twice. So just in case you have that one at home and you're thinking, oh, I can make this work, not so much. Alrighty, and then I've got 2 pieces here that are going to go on this panel. The Flirty Flamingo matching is 2 1/8 by 5 1/4, and the white is 1 7/8 by 5. So I wrote those down, and I'm going to leave it here in case you want to write it down, take a snap, whatever. Alrighty, so what else am I going to do? I was going to stamp with Awesome Otters. This is one of the celebration items. Stinkin' cute. I'm going to use this guy because he's fun to color. So I'm going to grab him, and I'm going to need this greeting, which is, you are utterly awesome. And I'm going to use some scrap paper underneath because it does bleed through, and I'm trying to use this piece here. So I'm going to use some scratch underneath here. I need a block to put him on. And he's just going to go swimming up like that. And just, I'm sort of auditioning my card here as I'm getting an idea of where things are going to place. And then my greeting will go there. So let's move those guys out of the way. So I'm going to color with Stampin' Blends, but you can use watercolor pencils. You can use regular Stampin' Write markers, whatever you like to color with. And so I'm going to use my Stampin' Blends, which means I need to stamp my image with Memento. Memento is a dye ink. It is water-based, and it works very well as the basis for coloring with blends, which are alcohol-based, water alcohol. It's good that they're opposite. If you were using water markers, you wouldn't want to use this ink because it would bleed. That would be bad. So let's see, there's our little otter on here. I'm just going to stamp him down, and if there's spots where this doesn't go through perfectly well, it's okay because you're going to color him in, so it won't matter so much. So I did a little research when I started playing with the otters on, you know, what part of them is what color. So I'm using the matching gray granite blends, which are just a little different than the smoky slate. They're just a little bit different color, more like literally granite, or I'd say more like cement. That's kind of the color I associate with it. And it seems like their bodies are grays and browns. And I mean, like anything else in nature, they could have different colors. But these are kind of the natural occurring colors, and the little white belly or the lighter colored belly. So I decided I would color this outside edge with the light gray granite. Then I'm going to add some fleck of dark gray granite to color it in. I am not your colorology specialist, master colorer with Stampin' Blends, but I do know what I like to do with them. So, oh, thank you, Debbie. Yes, I am feeling better, although I didn't sleep quite so well last night, and I actually seemed like yesterday during the day I was better, but I think I'm totally on the mend. Well, I'm more so on the mend. Late in the evening, if I'm up too late, I'm still coughing quite a bit. And last night I had trouble getting to sleep. I was watching the most fascinating and interesting documentary on, I think it was Prime Video. Oh, and by the way, when you have Stampin' Blends, you'll see there are 3 dots on both ends. This is the brush end, the thicker end. I tend to use the bullet end, but the idea is you'd put your thumb on there and press up. If you try to pull, you could damage the nibs. So back to last night, I decided to watch this documentary on after the Titanic, what happened afterwards, and how Halifax was a big part of the recovery mission. And it was actually quite fascinating. I do like documentaries, and so I highly recommend if you're into that kind of thing, kind of check that out. All right, so I'm going to just kind of go around the outside edges here. Like I said, I am not perfect at this, but my understanding is when you're blending colors, you want to blend them while they're still wet. So it's just going to be for adding some shading. And sometimes I just end up with them being completely all one color, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I want to kind of just add that little motley look to it. Alrighty, there's my guy colored there, and then he's got his little fish, which reminds me of salmon. So I decided to do him in Flirty Flamingo, which was kind of a matching. I don't know if they eat salmon. I'm kind of thinking, well, I know otters eat fish, but I don't know if they particularly like salmon. Maybe those of you up in BC know a little bit more about salmon than me. I fish, but you know, it's like perch that you get down here. Rock bass and that kind of thing. Just add a little color to this guy here. Okay. Okay, he's got one dark ear and one light ear. That won't do. We've got to darken up his ears and make him a little more even. Okay, here's our little guy, and then we're going to put a greeting at the top. You were utterly awesome. Now that I've done all the coloring, I want to make sure I get this straight. So I'm going to use my grid paper to help line that up a little bit. Oh, nicely on a side. That's okay. I'm totally fine with that. I'm going to add some ribbon and jewels, and no one's going to be the wiser. Okay. It's kind of just, it kind of offsets the fact that he's on the side. All right, let's glue him down. And also, these are like sample cards for me that I will use to copy with something else. So, you know what? They're not perfect. It's okay. No one's going to be like, what are you doing? It's not a perfect card. If it was perfect, it would say Hallmark stamped on the back. Instead, it says handmade for you by Diane. Okay, I'm just trying to line that up a little bit. Alrighty, so now we're ready to stick this guy down here in his spot. No dimensionals tonight on this card at all, but lots of layers. You need to pull them off. Hey, you know what, Debbie? Do what you got to do, right? I totally hear you. I do have arthritis too. It is not as bad as that, but it can be at times a little bit challenging. And we just do what we can. Okay, you need to go over a little bit. There we go. line you up. All right, and what I chose to go with is something aqua colored. This is Pool Party, but you know what? I've done so many of these otter cards, and every time I do them, all I use is Coastal Cabana, Pool Party, Bermuda Bay, and I'm like, I really gotta, get away from that a little bit. So we're gonna cut off a good, generous amount of ribbon. Well, we're gonna go with 10 inches, just so I have enough. And depending on the thickness of your ribbon and the sturdiness of your ribbon, some ribbons are easier to tie than others. Will dictate how much you need and how well this is going to land for you. But you can just do a nice little bow. Hopefully the person you give this to has a sense of undoing the bow to open their card. Ooh, I think I have like just enough ribbon. I should have cut more. Be more generous. Live and learn. Okay, and then just playing with this ribbon to get it to lie the way I would like it to. And then I'm going to add a couple little pearls. So a little bit over time today. Usually I'd like to have this wrapped up in 15 minutes. But I was quicker last night, so kind of evens out. So these are the pastel pearls. I think I used these last night too, honestly. I was thinking the pink, but I have a feeling they're not the right. Well, they're not too bad, but I like these kind of whitish gray ones. So I'm going to just add these guys. I have lots of these, and I need to use them up. So there's our utterly awesome card, and the original one, which I'll quickly tie. Thank you all for stopping in and watching as I was making this. Oh, if you get this Just Jade gold ribbon, remember that it frays a wee bit at the ends. So it might be something to add a little nail polish or something on the end of it, because it does tend to unravel, which is lovely if you're going for the unraveled look at the end of your ribbon, right? Because that can work too. But it ties lovely. It really does. It's in the sense that it lies flat. Okay, so that's all tied back up. There's our cards. Thank you for popping in. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will be back on Monday with another. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. Back on Monday with another Creative Inkster escape room. If you're wondering how that name came about, I love escape rooms. They're like the real escape rooms, and I just feel like an evening, especially on Monday, to escape and do some crafting is a good thing. All right, folks, thanks again, and have a wonderful week. Bye for now.